growth? What is growth? I think it's the same as what is your personal KPI. I think you got different answers. So I think defining growth is very important because everybody says growth marketing is important. And here's what is. I think when you work like in B2B, you have completely different growth ideas when you work in B2C, of course. So I think to really get a mutual definition of growth is, I think, the first step.
Welcome to this episode of the Redefine Growth podcast. Today we have Martijn Schartel, which is pretty interesting to announce in English because the sch is a very Dutch thing to pronounce, I guess. You've been crafting multiple e-com strategies for 10, 20 million plus e-com stores, which I think is a very interesting topic to talk about today. Because it's a little bit different from 0 to 1 than from 20 to 100. And you have an amazing vision on it. So thanks for being here. Very excited to talk about it. Maybe a short introduction of yourself.
Yes, thanks for having me. Short introduction. We've been working already for 20 years in marketing. And quite an unusual path because I started in strategic marketing. Mostly people end up, but I started with it. And later I moved on more to brand marketing and later on to performance marketing. And the last few years it's always been or a project on brand or a project on performance. So that's always my challenge the last few years, how to make it perfect. And as you said, like in small companies, but also in high volume companies. So it's interesting to see the dynamics in it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And today we're going to specifically talk, I think, about the bigger ones, the 20 million plus e-com stores you've been working at. One of them, Talpa.
Yeah.
I think you're some other brands that we maybe can name later on, and your vision on it, because the dynamics, I think, are interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to be growth that we're looking for. So to start off with the first question, how do you navigate the intersection of growth between branding and ensure a cohesive strategies?
A good question. I think it's quite an extensive answer, but I think to start with, I think there are three things which are, I think, always important. We think to brand and to growth. I think the first one is always to think about, see it as a relationship between brand and performance. So relationship, you always have challenges, you have arguments, we also have similarities. So to look at those similarities is important. I think the second one is to really look at common goals. I will explain it a little bit later. And the third one is it sounds easy, but it's about cooperation and how to embed cooperation in growth marketing. So I think the first one is an interesting one. It's to find a story. Because I think the basis of brand management is storytelling, and performance marketing can be more about performance. But what I've seen in my project is if you have a good story, as a brand, as performance, then you both can have an extreme benefit about it. I will show you some examples later, but it's interesting to see, okay, what is your common story? What is at the end you want to seduce a customer. And A/B testing can be statistically good, but also it's about seduction. So if you do both very, very right, you can get much, much higher results than competitor. I think there's one thing. Yeah, and the second thing I said is about find common goals. I think KPI setting is very easy for a performance marketer. And I think every performance marketer can name maybe 10, 20, 30 KPIs, which are equally important. And a brand marketer also works much more, I think, the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, much more on a performance basis. But what I see is those KPIs don't always match. Like a brand marketing department says, we want engagement, we want reach. And they work with a media agency who says, we have a successful campaign because we reach a lot of people. And the performance marketer says, I know, but I don't see anything in my orders, booking, or customer base. So in the end, it's the same customer. So that's a weird story, and that's a challenge, I think, to see that, to find that common goals. because I think that is perfectly possible.
Do you have an example of how it's possible?
Yeah, I think what I saw sometimes at campaign. I think the postcard lottery is a good example. I did some project for a postcard lottery, and postcard lottery, they don't look at only at a customer conversion. They also look at the relationship, because you want someone to be a player or a winner for many years, and not only one conversion. So the whole campaign strategy is just one. There's one campaign strategy. They don't have a separate performance branding. It's just, okay, we need long-term customers. So all the storytelling is about play with us, come with us, and not buy now, buy now, buy now. So you work with one media plan, and one media plan is the above the line. The branding is in the media plan, but also the performance. And it's all combined, compressed in one campaign and one multi-layer setup. So you can exactly know, and it's not only about they not only measure the sales, but also measure, okay, the campaign we did last year, how many customers do we still have? So the engagement. So yeah, I think the short answer is engagement, customer engagement. So how you get, how you want to keep the customer.
We're talking about making a positive impact, growth marketing, growth strategies within smaller environments, bigger environments. There's more to come, so please like and subscribe. Yeah, and I think one of the things people often think of is with brand, it's you build your brand for getting awareness amongst new customers. And I think one of the things you're saying, which is interesting, is also that you also build your brand to gain more loyal customers, right? To keep them. And I kind of see similarities between having a subscription for the gym, for example. If you never go to the gym, you will cancel your subscription. For the lottery, if you're paying but you never win something, you don't have that engagement you're talking about, you're probably going to cancel it sometimes. Yeah, interesting.
And you completely, the whole business case you make is based on the customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
And I see it, a lot of companies still don't look at it that way. They look at, okay, we have a big brand campaign, like a few times a year, a big brand campaign. So we raise beautiful commercial, beautiful, you've seen it. And there's like the performance guys who are just working every day, 7 days a week to get that performance going. But if you combine those two, I think, you can create magic, create extremely high results, also for a much lower investment. And that is, scalable, what you mentioned before. It's like, because if you think, if it works on a small scale, you can also build it on the same ideas on a big scale. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so it should be a match between the branding people and the performance people.
Yeah.
And the third one you were talking about?
Yeah, that's exactly what you mean. It's about how to cooperate. Because I can go to a customer or to a company and say, this is important, we have to do branding, and everybody's, let's do it. It's great. And then everybody goes to their own floor. Someone literally does, like, I'm on the 7th floor, you're on the 4th floor. I will see you on Monday morning at stand-up, and that's it. So to create, it's all, sometimes it's just about creating a team. And it sounds a bit, maybe I should explain it a little bit more. It's about that you find a way to work together, but that you both keep your own talents. So I worked with like when you have a very interesting campaign. I think for me it's always important that if like someone who does, for example, a lot of testing with social advertising, a lot of videos, where you can endlessly put videos in social, and if you just say to the show, if you put them together, it should not be that they constantly producing videos together and put it live. I think the brand manager or the creator, it's also design, is also important for communication, not only brand. They should say, okay, I am good at storytelling. I know how to keep the brand, keep the story, and teach maybe that social advertising space, teach them or work together with them. How can we get the maximum amount of testing, but keep a consistent story? And I saw it, sometimes you see it's like a very beautiful merger, and they not always agree with each other. Because what is the definition of a good campaign? What's the definition of a good video? Is it like it's the brand story is out, or it has a lot of clicks, views, sales? So I think that's the connection you make. So it's about cooperation, but also find ways to keep your own strength and to use that strength together to get the maximum effect of your campaigns.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how does that practically work? Because I totally see what you're saying is that sometimes they even call it communications, marketing communications, and then you have the growth teams, which are very much performance driven.
Yeah.
Often they're at a different location, different floor, a whole different way of working. Sometimes even lacking a way of working, if you ask me. But how does that practically work? Because do they come together every week? Do they? How do they practically make that happen?
Yeah, it's a good thing. I think if I look at, I think a good example, Stelpa last year, we created as like different departments. It was the design department, marketing department, performance department, but also the data department. And we created like a new campaign process. And it sounds very dry, a campaign process, but a campaign process was built by everybody. So everybody was part of the process. And this first start of the campaign process, what was always like the word, I don't know for sure, a few steps. The first step was, know your customer, know your story. Second step was, what do we need to get? Where is our customer? And the third step was, what is the best way to find that interaction with your customer? And they had to make it together. So they built together. So they started with, who is our customer? And where is our customer? And what is the behavior? Because maybe our customer is not on Instagram. Maybe our customer is on TikTok. So we need to know, where's our customer and what do we need to convince that customer? So the first step was always like old school strategic marketing. Who's my customer? Who is it? And not start a test program. And if we know, if we have, and it was like very interesting discussion, because when you put different disciplines together, they have a different idea about what is the behavior of the customer.
Yeah.
Some say, they just come here for the price, or they just come here for service, or they just come here to have an experience. So it's very interesting to align those common goals, as I mentioned before, and then say, this is then we agree about this is what our customer wants. So our customer wants an experience. So don't do pricing, don't just how do we sell an experience.
And I think that's important to understand what you're testing.
Exactly.
Right? You have to understand your because else you were testing at maybe different colors of price or whatever, but that might not be the thing that is actually differentiating a good test or like a good advertisement from another if you don't understand them really well. Yeah. And I totally. Now we've been working together at Talpa, of course, and I think our role together was being that bridge between all these departments and making them understand better. So I also often say, as a performance marketeer, which is often top of funnel, if you don't understand the data from deeper in the funnel, like the retention data, the lifetime value you've been talking about, how can you ever run good ads? Like you have to understand which customers are loyal, which their behavior, where they're coming from, what they're doing, how do we change their lives. And based on that data, you can also search for more people like that. But if you don't combine these things, also the brand, then it's impossible to do really effective, come up with the effective growth strategy.
Yeah.
So this is interesting how you look at that.
Yeah, one of the first questions I mostly ask when I have to make a case or something, I say, "What is your definition of success?" And I ask it to different managers of different departments. And 90% of that, I get a different answer.
Yeah.
So how can you celebrate success if you don't measure success? So
and then align these metrics together to see where.
What's the common? Yeah, because we all want to. At the end, I work mainly for commercial business. I don't work for government. So most commercial business have mostly the same goals. Yeah. They want to grow in revenue, grow in customers. So the end goal is always the same. Yeah. But they have different ways to get there. So if you put those parts together, that's amazing what the results can be.
Yeah. And I think one practical tip could also be to get that integration a little bit more is building proper dashboards. So
Exactly, yeah.
if you're not talking to each other, then at least understand from each other what the results are, what they're focusing on, and so getting your growth infrastructure in place with the right dashboards, but also the right tools and to manage goals and activities that you work on, so you can understand from each other what you're working on and what is happening without actually talking. That can also already help with aligning these teams together. So that's
exactly
nice. Can you share an example where integrating growth marketing, branding with an existing team led to a significant growth?
Yes, I think I have one example I think is interesting. It's already a few years ago. I did some project for Ziggo, Vodafone Ziggo, and a very interesting company. Big performance department, big marketing department. So it was interesting dynamics over there. And
how was the balance that this morning we were drinking coffee and we were talking about I said like Nike and Adidas often have the balance between this, they spend 60% of the budget on brand and 40% on performance. Now you're talking about Ziggo. Was that similar at Ziggo, or was it way more performance?
Yeah, it was when I worked there for 1.5 year, and I saw a change when I started there. The door was not locked, but the door was closed between the two departments, and they both did a great job. But they were like the classical marketing department. Their whole business, the giant budget was based on media engagement, above the line and YouTube, but only a lot of views on YouTube. You know the story, a lot of views. Yeah, very club. And performance department was like, okay, we have to maintain our channels. And I already noticed in the beginning, like, they're both so much strength, so much talent is there, but they're not connecting with each other. So, and now it's when I left, and it was not because of me, but because of a lot of people say, okay, this has to change. When I left, it really was much better cooperation, and you saw it. And one project I worked on was a small project, but it's a very interesting project. It was for Ziggo, also had Ziggo Mobile, so it was the SIM cards. And in I think a lot of telecom, what I mentioned before, customer lifetime value is connected with how many products you have. So if you have a television, telephone, not many people have it, but well, you stay much longer. So the more products,
the longer.
Yeah, it's just direct connection. So we want to connect mobile, but most customers didn't even know they have mobile, like the SIM only. So we had the assignment, like, okay, make mobile big, make it successful.
Make mobile great again.
And so they say we need market share for one. We need customer loyalty increasement. Yeah, and we want to make a lot of money. And you have very limited budget because it's on top. So that was the assignment. So it was an interesting assignment. So it forced us, the team where I was in, to really think about, we need to make it like a small company within a company. So we created like a small team, and we were completely independent. And what we did is we just looked at, okay, what is our common goal? And our common goal was mostly to get market share and just to get subscriptions. So it was quite, we didn't have like a big KPI frame, we just market share and this. So we had market share data, we can just see it's very, very, lot of telecom, it's very easy to get market share data. So we looked at market share and we looked at subscriptions, nothing else. That was it. So the whole marketing design was just 2 KPIs. It was a very small dashboard. But it's very new for both parties. Okay, because what I said is relationship, you have to give and take. So the performance, you want like 80 KPIs, and brand wanted maybe 1 KPI. So we made some, okay, this is our joint KPI. That was the first thing. And we said, okay, if that is true, okay, how do we convince that customer? Where is that? Where is our customer? So we mapped it out. Like, okay, they're on the comparison side, they are on affiliate sites. There's a lot of Google Shopping. It was everything. So we made like a roadmap. Oh, this is where our customer is. So we didn't want to get the customer in. We want to be where the customer is. And based on that, we created stories. So a brand story and a performance story, but it was like one package. We didn't have a separate brand campaign. It was like constant branding and performance flow. So it was very intense to create it because it was completely new. And normally you have a campaign, you say I have a campaign, it's 4 weeks, and the first 2 weeks I do a lot of branding, and the next 2 weeks I do a lot of performance, and then it evens out. But now we said, we need a constant flow. So we also went to the Ziggo TV, Formula One at that time, so the Ziggo Sport. So we asked for free advertising, so we got free advertising. But the advertising was mostly based on how do you fill that funnel. So it was like ATL performance. So very interesting to see it. But that the combined KPIs really create a story together and find a way working. It was every day we sat together, and every day we looked at the dashboard. We looked at, okay, is this working? Is it performance working? And what we saw in the end, because in the beginning it was a lot of things didn't work. We saw like, okay, we're doing something, nothing works. So we had the brand book we created was dynamic. So we had a basic brand setup, but we changed it within the limits. Like, how far can we stretch it, the performance, to be in the brand? So it was not like a continuous fixed brand story, but it was like
testing some angles.
It was dynamic branding. You can almost call it dynamic branding. So how can he use branding to perform, and how can he use performance to do branding? And what we saw at the end is the biggest thing we saw is that because brand was so connected to the performance was much cheaper. The cost per acquisition, before that we did that setup, I cannot say the exact number, but after the campaign it was 75% lower, the cost per acquisition, including branding.
Yeah.
So we couldn't believe we had to recalculate. Okay, this is huge. Yeah. So and that's an example how you can really, if you really focus on it, you really look at a completely different, not in a traditional way, but really consolidate brand. Don't see brand versus performance, but brand and performance.
Yeah.
You can go crazy. We also that time the Ziggo Mobile was the biggest increase in market share. Also, we still didn't. Well, we're not very big. We saw like a peak in market share. I was like, okay, this is really, really interesting. And that case was also later used for other projects within Ziggo. So it was an interesting project.
Cool. What I would love is that instead of focusing on subscriptions, focusing on happy clients, or like people that are really, like you're saying, you can look at it from the perspective of if they have more products, they're more loyal. Or you can look at it, how can we make them happier? Well, we can also offer mobile, which makes them happier, and then they will continue to stay longer. I often say, like, the subscription on the gym, to come back to that, is a shitty metric, because if people don't go to the gym, they will cancel their subscription. So what you actually should look for is getting people to the gym and give them a nice experience and make sure that they're very happy. I remember one day when my father used to switch to Ziggo, he got like 3 months off, 50% discount. I was like, all right, I'm a customer at Ziggo for many years, so
you don't get the discount.
Let's go there, right? So and I think it was based on my IP address, or maybe so they could see it. I didn't see the discount on their homepage. I was like, what? So I went off the Wi-Fi on my phone and went in private mode, and then I could see the discount. And I was like, really? Like, so they I think they came up with a system where they try to not show the discounts for current customers. That often also happens with, well, if you're a new customer, you get a discount. They exclude the current customers so they don't see it. And what I like about the thing that focus on a top level metric, like the amount of subscription, at least you should take these existing clients into account, because you can acquire a lot more new, but if they're running away after a certain period, then that's such a waste of all your energy. And so often it's still very much focused on, especially performance. It's way too much focus on getting these new customers in, while in the meanwhile, they're leaving via the back door, right? So that's the top line metric is. It's nice if it's both new and existing, and maybe way more existing should get more attention from both brand and performance.
Yeah.
If you ask
Exactly,
me.
yeah, and it's always it's also so expensive to get a new customer in.
Yeah,
It's getting more and more expensive because it's especially in certain branches in like in travel or in telecom. It's so expensive to get them in. Yeah. We did certain campaigns and certain keywords in Google Ads were like 9 to 12 euros per click.
Crazy.
So yeah, just keep them. Spend all your money, the money you spend, keep them, and then that's at the end. I think that's what what's important.
Yeah, we're often when we look at tactics and when we use all separate systems to rank them, and generally it's looking at the effort you put in and the impact it's going to make. So I think the effort is way less with existing clients to keep them and to keep them happy, but. Well, these things like only offering that discount to new clients doesn't really help. So I remember me calling, say like cancel my subscription, and I'll call back the next day as a new client. So it's an interesting topic. Well, there's often the debate between creativity and data.
Yeah.
What's your vision on it?
That's the question, the $1 million question. What I think it's. It's easy to say, but it complements each other. It should never be a competition. But I think to make it effective, I think it's important to really look at a few things. And the first thing I mentioned before is about knowing your customer and also knowing your customer behavior, because I think creativity and marketing should connect with behavior. The second thing is the relationship with data. So I'm not talking about be data-driven, but relationship with data and creativity. And the first thing is to create a long-lasting impression with the customer. I think a nice example was at Egon. I did the project there, and they were they sell life insurance, not life insurance, but they sell savings plan, and the whole savings plan you will get money when you're like 65. So, and a lot of people said when you're 65, you are they got a lot of money on their account, and what they do with their account, they take it off Egon, they go somewhere else. That was like the churn. So that was assignments. Like how? So the question was, how do you get that customer away? How do you get the customer in? But because we didn't know where the customer went to, so the data part was not leading, but the data part was more like, okay, this is the data was giving me information, like, oh, this is happening. But how do you get the customer in? So we tried different techniques. So we tried creativity, be creative, like how do you reach those people? So we tried different approaches, and they didn't work. We sent the email, didn't open the email. You can imagine if you send an email about your money, so it sounds also a bit like phishing. So be careful about it. You cannot mention everything. It's finance, of course.
Yeah.
So the data creativity part was like lacking. So what we did, and that was like the third thing, as I say, think about the relationship with your customer, the long lasting. How does your customer? Some customers they started like that savings plan 30 years ago, and they started it. Maybe they went to the local insurance shop. So there was a lot of print offline. That was the whole relationship with Egon, was only letters. They never did look at video. So it was very interesting to say, okay, we know that they're leaving. We know that if they stay, it can generate a lot of money. We knew that. We knew, okay, the story is that, okay, you've been with us for 20 years. Stay with us. We're reliable. So you know the creativity. But the third thing was, okay, knowing your customer behavior. So when everything failed, we just said, okay, why? And we mentioned like the Sunday afternoon letterbox, so that our customer was sitting in front of a desk in his living room or in his study, and he's like writing, and it's like a little letterbox where you put all those letters.
Yeah.
And I said we have to in that letterbox. So that was the KPI. The KPI was the number of letterbox conversions.
Oh yeah.
So we try, and then what we did, we used like digital marketing techniques, because the nice thing is that email marketing has evolved so much. We know so much about an emails also, basically letters. So we use all those email marketing techniques like subject line, segmentation in print letters. So we made different audiences, and we made different letters also with subject lines on the envelope.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You should also see like a brochure as a landing page, for example.
Yeah. and then we said like different, like one we said, okay, we have important news for you, or we also said like check your account, like the different kind of. And so we went creative with letters. We used that customer behavior to make like old media new. And we saw extreme high conversion rate on letters. I remember one flight was 19% conversion rate.
Wow.
So the relationship with growth and creativity, I think that the link you need today is customer behavior. If you know what the customer wants, you can be creative and you can measure it.
Yeah, and one of the things I also see is if you look at more the traditional campaigns where they come up based on gut feeling, they come up with a concept where it's super great and it's often very big, right? You easily spend 100K on a new campaign that you came up with, and there's a whole production, a whole thing going on. And I think one of the things I see as an opportunity is in that process, within that campaign, you can already iterate a little bit and start testing. Because that campaign has a certain angle, so you can test it similar like a soft launch and a big launch. Like in the soft launch, you test. So okay, we came up with this creative idea, but before spending 100K on production and 500 on the campaign itself and the promotion, let's just see where we get the most traction and results from, and then based on that, you build the rest of the campaign, and then you scale it up, and that's where I think creativity and data could maybe come together. And what you're saying that you have to understand the behavior, but based on your gut feeling, that's a pretty high risk. That often these creative agencies are good at it, I hope, but it's not guaranteed, right? So maybe the data can help you to support that gut feeling, creativity that you have, and already give some direction. Like, oh, okay, that creative concept that you came up with, we see some traction already, or that angle that you're looking at might not be the right one to look for, because we often work together with creative agency, and then they also get more and more questions about, so what can we expect, right? So what is the impact of that campaign, and can you say something beforehand? Well, and they often for them it's quite hard to do these estimates, and that's where maybe data can play a role. And
data testing can be a great tool for creativity.
To test whether the creativity that you come up with actually works. Because you can be creative because of the creativity, but often it has a certain goal that you have in mind, and that's where you're becoming creative for. So so the data within a creative campaign, but I also believe that there are some common misconceptions about these KPIs. So can you give the listeners an advice on how to determine the right KPIs to look at?
Yes, I think the what I see is the biggest misconception is that there are one size fits all KPIs. So you see a lot of beautiful dashboards that say for companies, and they show the same, a lot of overlapping KPIs. And then you ask the people who work with it, do you really use these KPIs? Is it helpful to your growth? Does it appeal to you? I say, no, I say it's very important, very interesting to see, but it's not connecting, not directly helping me improve my work. So I think it's very good to see, not say, okay, these are KPIs, the famous think do KPIs, what I see everywhere, everywhere the same. Yeah. I think you have to ask as a company, is it applicable to my company? Because it's not like a fixed KPI framework, like this is what you need to do. I think you have to think about, okay, what is important to me and what is important to my department. And if you really think about, okay, which KPI do I need to learn, to improve? I think that's the first step. The second step is okay, what are KPIs? What are the common KPIs of the whole your team where you work in the brand performance and media and everything? And the first thing is, okay, how do you work with it? A dashboard is a tool. It's not a goal. I always say.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see, we have a beautiful dashboard. So now we promised it. No, it's just a tool. So the same if you give a handyman, you give him like a screwdriver. Like, hey, screwdriver, now you're a handyman. So if someone gives me a screwdriver, it will never be a handyman. So it's just a tool. But without a screwdriver, I can not do anything. So maybe I don't need a screwdriver. Maybe I need a hammer. So sometimes you need a hammer to break things. So just really think about, okay, what do I want to do? What is my goal of my project? And then what is the tools? What tools do I need? You can also and also misconception is more is better KPIs. So we have an enormous big dashboard, so we measure everything.
Yeah,
and people can be proud of that. So we measure everything. So yeah, okay, what do you do with it? So I think the thing, yeah, what I see, the more in my last 15 years, 10 years as performance marketer, I used less and less KPIs.
Yeah.
But the KPIs I use,
more important.
They more than it matter. Yeah.
And I like what you're saying is that in our growth marketing world, we call it the North Star metric that represents the core value you deliver as a company. And it should be really the core value. I often use the example of Spotify, for example. That I wouldn't be measuring the amount of subscriptions, but the minutes, the total amount of minutes, of hours, or days that people listen to music, because that's actually the core value that they deliver. Because, again, with the gym, if they don't go to the gym, you can have a subscription, they'll cancel it. So that's not the core value you deliver. So to think of what is actually really the core value that I deliver, and measure that in top level, and then maybe some metrics that influence that metric could be a really important one. And within the e-com space, the commercial e-com space you've been talking about, well, it's often logical where they look at, but is that really the core value you deliver as a company? The transaction, is that the core value you deliver as a company? Or are you trying to change someone's life with the product or service that you're offering? And maybe then the transaction is a result from, and they become a loyal customer for the lottery, for example. So by looking at these 10, 20, 100 million plus e-com environments, they're often, I think, organized a little bit more in a traditional way. They ask you to come in to help getting more into a growth marketing way of working. What are some steps? What are the first steps you see that these companies should make in order to work in a more growth marketing way?
I think the first step is to define growth. I think, and the second step is again, what is the story you want to tell? Third thing is, how do you want to tell the story? And fourth, the last one is is the definition of success. So, the first one is to get into is growth. What is growth? I think it's the same as what is your personal KPI. I think you got different answers. So, I think defining growth is very important, because everybody says growth marketing is important. And here's what. I think when you work like in B2B, you have completely different growth ideas when you work B2C, of course. So I think to really get a mutual definition of growth is, I think, the first step.
I like this so much because the podcast is called Redefine Growth, and growth often is the first thing they come up with. Growth, more revenue, more profit, more value for shareholders. But could it also be that growth means more impact on the lives of people, or more impact on making the world a better place? So, and then maybe profit could be a result from that. So, just to define growth, define growth is such a valuable exercise to do, because what is growth for your company? What are you in business for? What do you get up every morning? Is that really to double your revenue, or is there something bigger than that? It's a very good start.
I think companies who really think exactly what you said, companies who think like that, in my opinion, see revenue almost as a side effect. Like, if I really focus on growth, let my customer feel better with my brand, feel better with the things I do, then the revenue will almost go. But if you only focus on revenue, then the customers, I think customers are now, especially the young generation, they're not stupid. They don't they see they can smell a salesperson from from a mile away.
And
also
an
online
influencer
sales.
probably for them. Yeah.
And then we all know, like when you have like a beautiful shiny ad, they don't even see it. I think they did some studies. They just look around it. So it's all about touch. Be real. Be honest. And then growth is maybe grow your brand, but grow your relationship with your customer. I think that's the first step. Redefine growth. And the second thing is, if defining growth, like, I want to have I want to have like, for 80% of my customers, I want a better relationship. That maybe that of a customer line, that could be a growth. Like, take that for example. Okay, then the next thing is, what's my story? How are you going to tell it?
Is that the emotional part in your growth strategy?
I think so. Yeah. And the good thing is that and that's also again the strength between brand and performance, because good brand managers, they have so much knowledge, so much insights about customer behavior. It's so interesting to see. Okay, this is the mind of our target group, our audience. So if you know that and you combine it in a story, I think when you do those things, in my opinion, you already did 80% of the work.
And I think it's so important because you can tweak with all the settings and within Google Ads or your Meta or TikTok, whatever ads, whatever campaign settings you have with different audience or A/B testing with different settings and budget. But the content and the story, I think, has such a big influence on performance. It's you can have 2 static images, but or like a super fancy video, or you have like a user-generated video. And that user-generated video might, although it's so much cheaper, although it looks less fancy, might, as you were saying, convert way better, right? Because it might be a story of your customer who's doing the selling, instead of wij van WC Eend, which we often used to say in the Netherlands. So that's I think an amazing second step to have that story and that emotion in place.
Exactly. Yeah.
And move on to the third step, which was
execution.
Getting it out there.
And say a little bit about what you to comment on what you said about the story, because I learned the hard way. That one, I said I made a perfect performance media plan, and I had all the assets together, everything was together, and then I worked with some very smart people, social advertising, social media, email, PR, and I presented my plan, and everybody was like, "You could hear the crickets," you know. It was okay. What's the story? What do we have to tell? And I was like, yeah, you're right. So we have to start with the story, not about the execution. So I had to go back to the drawing board, but it was a hard way. But now I just still hear that meeting like, good. Before you go, even tell like we have to spend millions, we have to do this, we have to do all the multi-channel, all the multimedia mix, all the beautiful words.
Yeah.
But you have to say something, and it's not about constantly A/B testing prices or colors or buttons. It's about so the first thing is execution, and that is already what I mentioned before. It's like you need to work together. You need to do it together. It's not like, okay, this is a story. Okay, you go that way. You buy some radio out of home, and you will do some Google ads, and we will see each other next week. No, then. Because that happens a lot. You say beautiful brands, so then everybody goes their ways and they both do the best. But then, at a certain point, maybe someone says, "Oh, that story is maybe a little bit better." So he changes the story a little bit. So and then, and I always say that the customer doesn't know there are different departments in a company. They only see one company, and they all think that one company is doing one communication.
Yeah.
So that's again, think about your audience. Don't do different. I see so many different stories in different channels.
And I think that's interesting to talk about. Even outside of your growth marketing team, people look at your brand.
Exactly.
So everything for a smile from Peter. I totally believe that every interaction, at least at Sprinter Sneakers, every interaction that we have, it could be the the Jumbo delivery guy that are offering a coffee, or the woman that's walking her dog, and then I say hi all the time, and then 4 months later, her daughter becomes an intern at our. Like, every interaction that you have is your brand, is your story. It doesn't matter within your marketing team. Also, your whole company are ambassadors of your story. So to have that story straight, and to make sure that every interaction that you do has that same feeling, that same story, is such an important thing. So if you cannot already have that same story within your growth marketing team, which already it should be very aligned, how can you do it within your company, or even everyone collaborating with your company in whatever way, right?
Yeah.
Nice. And the fourth one?
And the fourth one is always data, of course.
Yeah.
How you measure it, how you measure success, and I think data is again what you said, is North Star, is a compass. And I think that data should be like also a tool to see are things working, but also take the when you do the first 3 steps, it's quite intense. So people are mostly happy, like, okay, it's live, we're done.
Yeah.
So but I think step 4 is the beginning, because if everything is done and you go live, then it's the beginning. So you need a little bit more, to be more like black and white. I think you really have to know, okay, is it working or is it not working? I think then you go also in the realm where you work in, much more like really hardcore growth hacking, hardcore testing brand, everything, and that's just a way of working.
And also understand why it's not working.
Exactly.
And I believe this model could potentially also be a loop, because if you look at the data and you understand why something is working or is not working, you should at least verify that the step 1, the reason why you're in business and the thing you want to achieve, if that's actually viable.
Yeah.
And obviously in the environments that you've been working on, it's already proven in many cases. But whether you look at startups and product market fit, it still needs proof that the reason why you get up in the morning and the impact that you were planning to make is actually a viable business model, and are people looking for that? And the data can help you with it. So understanding why your potential customers do not buy or do not become loyal, or why they do become loyal, etc., is very valuable data to get back to first, second, and third step, and use that insights to optimize and to improve.
Exactly. And sometimes failed test can be more interesting than a successful test.
Of course.
And I remember one of my first projects was at a telecom company. I will not say the name, but it's not. And what we noticed is they were like a price-oriented telecom company. But we tested a lot about different pricing. Everybody take away the euro sign, all those basic things. But all those pricing didn't work.
Yeah.
All different pricing didn't work. And then we said, okay, what's going on? It forced us to rethink our strategy. Like, this is okay. We are a price-oriented company, but price competition doesn't work. So we went back, and then we really went back to we need to like the market research. So calling customers, and we just with a team of people, we took some pizza out and we calling customers, and ex-customers also. And then we noticed that there was a very low price elasticity. So we mentioned that after a lot of research, we say, if the price is 30% or 20% higher, people, so they are okay with it. So when I see a competitor or the competitor which is 20% cheaper, they will still not go to them, because we have a package. What I mean, we have a package. So our package is changing from another company. We don't want to change. Only when the price is extremely high. So then we learned from a test, like and we test. Okay, we should not only talk about pricing, and it completely changed the strategy of the company to add on. So we started like free virus software, or help desk, which is open longer later. The installation guarantee and all those things. So we understand that, okay, that pricing test, but we had to go all the way back, and we had to be honest with ourselves. Okay, we have to go back to step 1.
You decided to differentiate not on price, but on additional services, creating more value.
And we really saw immediately effect on that.
Nice.
And I think that the fourth thing is you need to be dynamic in your storytelling. Not say this is a story and we're gonna test it until we got it right. Maybe the story, the whole growth strategy is also defining the whole strategy of a company.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
and it's super interesting. And
I can talk for hours about it.
Yeah,
Give you a
but
summary,
there's so much value in here, and I
yeah.
think one of the key things that could be interesting to share. So you got an amazing experience within all these big environments, and with big goals, budgets, a lot of teams, people involved, and so look at the landscape of e-commerce. It's changing, right? AI is going to be having a big impact on the content that has been produced. Everybody can make Netflix quality content. The platforms are coming. So you can have your own e-com store with 20 million in revenue, but what are you going to do with all these platforms that are coming?
Yeah.
Then with the data part, obviously, which is going to be crucial. So it's way harder to measure things. So taking that into consideration, what would you recommend these bigger e-com brands to take into account or start doing in 2024 to become successful?
I think what you said is a big shift. It's changing. It's gonna be rough this year, but also interesting because everybody there. I always say this year with the cookie policy, everything, there will be new rules, but they account for everyone. So the first one who really knows how to solve them, they can make an extremely growth this year. So I don't see it as a I don't see it as a threat. I see it as a challenge. But I think if you are like a big e-commerce company and also look at the future, that you cannot like anonymous get customers in, so and only look at usabilities. I think now is the time, really. The most important time is now. I think is to think, okay, what is your added value? What happens if you don't exist tomorrow? Will your customers like be like unhappy or angry, or just go to another? So I think then that's the important thing, because I think in the end, e-commerce is about usability, about test to do. Please do whatever I want you to do. Then I'm happy. That's what I say. If you ask, we did the research about customers and what's important for e-commerce, I'll say just do what I expect. Don't do anything more. So that's the mantra of the e-commerce companies I spoke with. Not all, of course, but they say, okay, customer all want fast checkout, leave. So go and shop fast. That's what you see. Yeah. And then everybody's. Sometimes I say, open a web shop and put your finger over the brand and tell me what is the brand of this e-commerce. And a lot of people don't know. People don't know. So the interesting thing is, then you go back to the brand. So maybe then brand will be more leading than performance. I think a lot of e-commerce big ones already have like in place. It works quite smoothly. So it's not like that. I think that. But if you really can differentiate in your brand, and also differentiate in the way you communicate with your customers and engage with your customers, I think that's something what is still very challenging. A lot of opportunities are still there. I think if you combine that together, like what is my brand, what is my story I have to tell again, what makes me special, what makes me fun, or what makes me emotional connection, and also be brave enough to choose a side. This is the story I want to tell. This is connected with my brand. Maybe you will lose some customers, but you will keep some customers also. And then you can almost build a wall around your customer base. Like, this is my kingdom. Everybody in this kingdom is enjoying themselves, and they could feel connected with it. And then you can really get an extreme advantage on your competition. To the point that you don't always need to be a price fight about prices.
Yeah, I have to say that something can never be too expensive, but then the value delivered is not big enough.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? So the more value you add and the more value delivered, then price becomes irrelevant. And I think what you're saying is amazing, because it requires a mindset shift from we're pushing a product and it's all about the efficient transaction and check, like you're saying, fast checkout is more towards, okay, who is my customer? How can I add way more value? And on a regular base. Not only pushing products that they need or might not often need, but just push the product to get them to really provide value and with from a certain brand story that you have and vision that you have, and people will love you for that. And also having some uniqueness, so choosing a certain position that you take is important to make people remember. Oh, that's the company that does that thing.
Exactly.
They're in business to do, and they help me with that. So that's a great advice to give.
Being if you think about it, being like be always in the top 3. We always say. When you think about that certain product, where to buy it, where to go there, you have to be in the top 3.
Claim that position.
And also be flexible in that. It also changes, of course.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Wow, this is amazing. Martijn, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've been talking about so many interesting topics. It was an amazing episode. We're going to talk soon. Thanks again. And have a nice day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, this was another amazing episode of the Redefine Growth podcast. We'll be talking about growth marketing, enterprise environments. There's way more to come. So please like and subscribe if you didn't already, and I hope to see you next time. Ciao.